Welcome back to my channel. This is Ivan Vincent. If you haven't been here before, I'm the guy who George Lucas took Jedi Knights from in 1974. So if you want to stick around or you want to go back and watch some other videos, I'm still in the process of trying to prove it. I do have circumstantial evidence. There's things that I know that nobody could know unless they were there the day this happened. What I want to do today is go over something I just figured out, and I was sitting there thinking about it, and I go, you know what? I think that could have been a thing. And here's the thing. I had a piece of evidence. It was stored away, way out in the country. It said Jedi Knights in the Force. It was from 1974. A specific lab I was going to take it to could have dated it and told you when it was from, what year it was from. I had it put away. I didn't mention it in any of the videos until 2014, and it was stored where there were people who they would have had to literally get past people in my family to get to it. That's why I don't know how they got it unless they waited till my family was gone and broke in. And I'm just curious if that would have ever happened. Or anyway, back to what I was going to say. They've been talking about the FISA courts and everything, and really it's an abuse of the Constitution, the Fourth Amendment, and this show isn't about politics, but it's also to highlight what happened to me and why it is dangerous for people to have the right to spy on American citizens without a FISA warrant or otherwise. It's really not very good, because it's what happens. It's just like what happened with me. I've never done anything wrong in my life. I didn't know any foreigners, so if they were spying on me, which they obviously were, and that's simply because no one knew this evidence even existed. No one knew where it was. And the only time I ever mentioned it where anyone could have been listening was over the phone to my brothers. So that means someone was tapping my phone. The other time, me and my mother were actually looking at the document back in 2000, and we put it up into this sleeve, and then it disappeared sometime after. I don't really believe that it disappeared till sometime after 2008, 9, or 10. Don't ask me why I think that, but I don't think it disappeared till after then, and I don't think it disappeared. It did disappear before I went back down in 2015, and I went looking for it, and it was gone. So the thing is there was 3 of those document sleeves. My brothers both had one of their own. Mine was with there. Mine was the one in the middle, you know, because I was the middle brother. There's 3 document sleeves. Mine completely disappears, along with my birth certificate, my medical records from when I was a kid, my diplomas, my certificate of plus that piece of evidence I had. Okay, that piece of evidence said Jedi Knights in the Force. It was from 1974. Now here's the thing, okay? Abusing the Constitution, FISA, whether they had a FISA or not, I'm not sure if they were using Project Echelon and listening, and that's how they were found out where it was, because that's what Echelon did. They could set certain words, like if you said B-O-M-B, you know what I'm talking about, that word, it would start recording you, so whatever you were saying. So that was how they were going to use it to track terrorists. Well, supposedly, now Echelon started a lot longer before the Patriot Act, way back in, I heard, the 40s or 50s, so whether they were listening to me way back then, it would make sense. But to sit and say that they don't, I'm not 100% sure they used a FISA, if they did, to spy on me. And again, someone did, because otherwise they wouldn't have knew that piece of evidence existed. And I mentioned something about it in one of my videos from 2014, right before the algorithm got put on me, right? And then, like I said, in the last one, that I really think, if you look, my one video hit 49,000, like 500 and something views in like a little over a week, I think. And then it took it 5 years to get 450 more views. 5 years. And ever since then, every video I've posted like this, just like this one, it takes it maybe a year or more to get 100 people looking at it. 100 in a year. Now, how did you go from 49,550 something in a week, or a little over a week, to less than 100 in a year's time? Okay, that's what you call being silenced. That's what you call censorship. It's not just an algorithm, it's censorship, okay? Now, here's something else that I started thinking about this the other day. A guy came to my house in 2001 who worked for Lucasfilm and also was an FBI agent. His name was Bob Frederick. I have his name on some documentation that I got from the Bedford Police Department when they tried to have me arrested for nothing. Okay, because I was being nice to George and saying, hey, remember me from way back, you know, remember what you said you were going to make me rich and famous? And he pretended he didn't know what I was talking about. And of course, he tried to have me arrested. Okay, so there was something that happened. And my uncle passed away in 2006, but he used to work for corrections. He was, you know, involved with policemen and new police officers and stuff. And he called me in 2001 and asked me something, and this just dawned on me the other day, and I was sitting there thinking about it. I was like, he said that they were trying to indict me. And after I left Louisville, I was like, who would try to indict me for what? I never broke the law in my life. Who would be trying to indict me? And I didn't understand what he was talking about. You see, they were going to do the same damn thing they did to Donald Trump to me. Except they didn't have absolutely anything. And all they had was, you know what, and I don't think, once they stole my evidence, of course, then there was no need to. They didn't have to. Sorry, my leg's itching down here. But that's the thing. Why were they trying to indict me? I never broke the law in my life. Why would they be I don't know anybody from foreign countries. So maybe they were trying to investigate me. And sure enough, on the police report from Bedford Police Department, because I ordered and paid for a copy of the police report when they tried to have me arrested, it said that they were investigating me. Now, why would they be investigating somebody who had never broke the law in their whole life? Why? Because I wrote a guy and said, hey, remember me? You owe me. And it wasn't even like that. I said, hey, you remember this? You know, I'll show, if I can, I think I have the clip. I'll pull it up here. I never said anything rude or, that's the thing. I never broke the law in my life. Why would they be trying to indict me for something? Huh? So I was listening to Dan Bongino and Jim Jordan talking about that, and I met Jim Jordan back in 2018 up here in Ohio, in Cleveland, in 2018 at the Ag Center. Now I was talking to him about Jeff Sessions, but anyway, he told me what was going to happen, and Jeff Sessions, sure enough, he got fired right after that. So the thing is, were they spying on me? And did they actually use a FISA warrant? And I applied for, I put in FOIA requests to the NSA, the FBI, the CIA, and they all stonewalled me. So I'm just curious, if I have this FBI agent's name on a piece of paper, that he came to my house in 2001, how is there no record of him having any exchange with me at all? Y'all are in for a really rude awakening. I know you probably still don't believe me, and I don't care if you think I'm crazy, but I'm not. I don't make up things about people. I have no reason to. As a matter of fact, if George Lucas had not told me when I was 7 years old that I'm going to make you rich and famous, I wouldn't have nothing again. I would have nothing to say about what he did, because the only thing I can do is say, hey, Ted Knights was mine, but I wouldn't have any, you know, thing to stand on. But he He committed oral fraud by saying, hey, I'm going to do this and not doing it. That's oral fraud. Just proving it is another thing. And here's the thing. If, in fact, the Project Echelon has been going since the 50s, and they can go back and get phone conversations from, who knows, 50, 60 years ago, then they have him talking to me on the phone in 1974 when he called Jack Hemberger's house at 5707 Robinwood Road. I lived at 5513. I went around the corner, got on the phone with George Lucas. He goes, hey, what is that thing you were, you know, I'll make you rich and famous. You mean Jail Nights? Yeah, that. Now, who else knows about that? Where'd you get that from? He was asking me all those questions too, and this is the thing. Why was he asking me the questions? Because he never planned on keeping his word. Here's the sad part, was I pulled a coffee percolator down on me when I was a little kid. I did. I almost died. I was tied to a bed for over a year, face down, because I was so cooked on the back, because the coffee percolator stuck to my face and poured down my back. And so they had to keep me tied face, most of it went down my back, so they had to keep me tied face down with my hands out, because if I had an itch and I did this, I would pull big chunks of flesh off me. That's how cooked it was. So they had to keep my hands tied down, and I had one leg that was loose. Okay? Now, I got out of the hospital, and I had this really bad habit and I probably have quite a few scars on my forehead from walking into things after I got out of the hospital, because, you know, I was tied to a bed, and this is how I saw people for a year and a half, you know, or whatever it was, because I know it was over a year. But if I was tied to a bed like this and I was looking over my shoulder, I was used to always looking behind me. My dad joked and said I was nostalgic, but I would be looking that way and walk right into a fire hydrant or whatever, bust my head open. And anyway, George Lucas's cousin almost killed me the day he got me over on the phone. He almost killed me with a piece of rebar. And this is what brought the whole thing, the memory back around, because my mother and them thought I fell on a Tinker Toy. That's not what happened. And when she started telling that story to my friend, it sort of kick-started the whole thing, process of me remembering. And I was caused me to have a nervous breakdown, because all these memories about what happened kept like, and I was like, something about it was not. And then, you know, this happened in late 1999 when she was telling my friends about me falling this Tinker Toy gun. I said, that's not what happened. I said, I was running in this kid's backyard, and he pointed a piece of rebar at my face that was big and long, and it was kind of like a hook, and it was buried in the ground. So he was spinning like, but he pointed it at my face, and it went in my mouth, and it ripped my palate back. It tore my palate completely out. Do you understand? It pushed it all the way back. Blood sprayed out of my mouth. He almost impaled me through my face, through my mouth. George Lucas's cousin almost impaled me through my mouth. You get that? That's what I'm telling you. That's what he did. He pointed that rebar when I was running. Whether he did it or not, it started reminding me of that movie where they train kids to freaking kill people and make it look like accidents. And who would think a little kid would do that, right? I started thinking about that. Maybe that's going a little too far. Maybe he didn't mean to do it. Maybe it was complete accident. But it was stupid. And he was mean as hell. One of the meanest kids in the neighborhood. He hit me with a bat once, and then I turned around and thought my brother did, and I hit my brother. That's been in my other videos. I talk about that. That's the thing. I have nothing against anyone on this planet. But if you tell somebody you're going to do something, do it. Or don't tell them you're going to do it. As simple as that. It's your word. If your word is worth nothing, you're worth nothing. And that's the end of the story. If you're not a man of your word, you're useless. And that's the way I grew up. You didn't tell somebody something. If you weren't going to do it, you didn't tell them. Period. End of story. Anyway, he almost killed me. I went to Florida. I wrote Jedi Knights in the Force on a piece of paper. It went in that document sleeve, the same one I told you that disappeared. Nobody knew it existed. When I went into the house and put it on paper in Florida, my two brothers and my mom was standing there. I asked my older brother Vince how to spell night. K-N-I-G-H-T. I asked my mother how to spell Jedi. She doesn't remember. J-E-D-I. It's funny that George just happened to spell it the same way. I don't know where he just figured it sounded right. I don't know. Same logic, I guess. So I put it in that document sleeve. It stayed in that document sleeve until past 2000, whenever me and my mother, as soon as she told that story, I went to Florida. Now, that's where I originally was when I put it on paper, but that was in 1974 when I was 7 years old in West Palm Beach on Kirk Road. I can tell you where we lived, Kirk Road. And then when I went back to Florida in 2000, right at the beginning of 2000, I went and stayed in Port St. Lucie, Florida on Cacao Street. And I was staying with my mother's godfather. He had slipped on some coleslaw at Christmas time. He cleaned the coleslaw up, but the floor was still slick from the mayonnaise. He slipped and he broke his collarbone and his foot. And he was having, you know, to get around in a wheelchair. So I went to help him, okay? So I went down and I stayed with him for a while. I came back up to Louisville. And me and my mother were going through paperwork. And this is after the whole incident where she tried to say I fell on the Tinkertoy, right? And that was in 1999. This was now 2000. So it was late in the year when she said that. It was maybe December or even around my birthday. I don't know. But it was late in the year when she told that story. When she started telling that story. And I know for a fact it was. Because a lot of stuff happened in 1999. But anyway, I was going through that paperwork and I pulled out that piece of paper. It said Jedites in the Force. I said, what is this? Oh, Davey drew that. My nephew, no, he didn't. And Davey wouldn't have put his stuff in my sleeve. So I don't know if her memory was that bad, but I've had terrible thoughts about that and I don't want to think like that. And, you know, I love my mom and my dad, and my mom and my dad are both poor and they're both struggling. So I can't think that something really like that happened, but or she would have had anything to do with it. But nonetheless, it disappeared. I went down. I made the video in 2014, late. So it was only a few months later. So it was late 2014 when I made the first videos and I mentioned it. And I said, well, I better go down and get it now that I've mentioned it. So I went down to Kentucky. It was gone. My whole sleeve was gone. You know what else is gone is my diplomas, my medical records, my immunization book that I had when I was a kid. You know, it said you had this many, what do they call that when you get tetanus shots, or this many. I had chicken pox, or I had this, or I had that. It had like everything that I had listed, and plus my immunizations, because when we went to school, I don't know if that was a requirement, I guess, back when I was a kid, that you had to have a list of the all immunizations you've had. I'm not getting into that anyway. That's not what this video is about. 33 people since 2020. But anyway, I'm not I'm not into talking about that anymore. So my thing is this: someone was listening to me. There had to be. My brothers didn't remember what happened in Florida in 1974 until I was sitting there in Ohio. When I first came up here, remember I told you it started bothering me because I kept thinking about it all the time. Like, there was something else that happened and I knew. And it wasn't until then I started remembering being on the phone, and am I remembering this? And you know, it was like that. And then there's like a dam broke and all these memories came flooding back. I even remembered when that piece of rebar went in my mouth, that it made this really weird taste with the rust and the blood mixed in my mouth. But I'm gonna tell you what, you may not have, I'm telling you, you're gonna find out. You're gonna find out, I'm telling you the truth. If you find out from God himself, you're gonna find out. I don't care if you don't believe in God or not, you're gonna find out. I wouldn't sit and lie about anybody like that. I don't believe in bearing false witness. If someone didn't do something to me, I wouldn't be saying it, okay? He took the incites in the forest. He promised to make me rich and famous. I'm going to cut this video off here in just a minute. But I just wanted to go over this whole thing about my Uncle Bruce. And it's really odd that he said they were talking about indicting me. And I'm like, who's talking about indicting me for what? What are you talking about? And he didn't, it's like he didn't know. Of course he didn't know. They were watching me. They were trying to get mine from that they were looking for that evidence. You see, they would have indicted me if they had to get it, to try to find it. But once I called my brother and asked him to go get it, and they knew, they got an inkling of where it was, and they went and found it, and they had somebody, or that they, or personally, or somebody affiliated to them, went in, maybe cozied up to my family and got in and got it and got out. But someone got my documents. Someone got that piece of evidence. And George Lucas, I'm telling you, he's corrupt as hell. And you can believe it. I don't care if you don't believe it or not. You're going to find out. I mean, his name was on the Epstein Island drop. I mean, you're already starting to see, but that's probably nothing compared to what we'll find out. The point is everybody thinks this man is great, and he's a criminal. He's a criminal. I love Star Wars until I learn the truth. Once I learn the truth, I have nothing, no respect for him, because to me, that's not what a hero is. A hero is not someone, I don't care how many Darth Vaders he fights or how many emperors he fights. The man who wrote all that, he steals from kids. He's corrupt. And that, to me, it ruins the whole idea of it. I mean, you don't even understand. I mean, sure, it'd have been great if he would have kept his word. Everything would be totally different. But also, the fact that he never ever mentions God. I truly believe George Lucas is a Luciferian now. And just because he put Lucifer in the cantina, he uses a demonic entity named Yoda. But of course, in the Voynich manuscript, his name wasn't Yoda, but they referred to him as a demonic entity. It's a spitting image Yoda. It's Yoda. And he duped the whole world. Everything in his Star Wars movies are from Lee Brackett, her husband Edmund Hamilton, the space opera they used to write for all those years. Characters from Star Trek, or like Boss the Bounty Hunter. You look at him. That's the Gorn. Again, I can keep going over this stuff every time I go over with it. But the whole fact is, they were spying on me, whether they had a warrant or not, whether they used the FISA courts, I don't know. But they were spying on me, and they had to be, because they couldn't have found out where my evidence is, or even that I had it, again, until I made that video. But I only mentioned there might be. I didn't say nothing about where it was or anything. So they still had to be listening to me, you see, to find out where it was. So... And to be honest, after I made my videos up here, I don't think I talked to my brothers after that. I think when I talked to them about where it was before that. So that's why I pushed back that time till about 2009 or 2008. But I'm trying to remember when the first time I tried to talk to my brothers was probably in 2001, 2, or 3. We were living in Bedford, Ohio. We moved to Sagamore Hills, Ohio. I might have talked to them then once or twice about it. And then when I got here to Northfield, and then made the last videos in 2014, I got put under an algorithm, and I went down looking for them. My stuff's gone. I'd like to have my diplomas back too. I'd like to have my diplomas. I'd like to have my medical records. I'm not 100% sure that my birth certificate was in there, but I think it was. Or else I took it to Florida when I went down and Doc's, because I think I left some stuff there, and he passed away, so I never got my stuff back from Doc's house. But anyway, he worked for the government. His name was Dr. Roland Gessert. He worked for the Upjohn Corporation, all kinds of people. He was a big-time doctor. He had a list of credentials like you wouldn't believe, and he passed away. So I don't know what happened to my stuff after that. But anyway, I'd like people to just share my videos. Thanks for watching again. Again, I'm trying to get the truth out. And, you know, I know some people probably have a hard time with it, thinking George Lucas did that, and you love Star Wars and you love the Jedi Knight, but you don't even know what it is. So believe me, he's not what they represent him in the movies as. And as a matter of fact, theirs are quite weak compared to the real one. Take care.